Hi, I'm Slack, this is Tony and welcome to Smog Vlog. Today we're going to be taking a look at the VCMT RTA. Boom! Okay, so welcome back. So previously in our review for the Vape Sota, we said, two of the things we've been looking for are bigger tanks and obviously them awesome ceramic coils. Now, this definitely fulfills the bigger tank thing, so we're not going to have to be worrying about changing juice, refilling so often, which is awesome. So Vapour Cloud's mega tank, commonly known as the VCMT, we thought we would give it a spin for you.
So yeah, the VCMT from the same makers as such greats as the Buddha and Temple. Are they drippers?
They are. They're some of my favourites, actually, yeah.
In actual fact, he's got both of them. Now, this isn't by any means a new tank. It was released to the masses late last year and was very well received by everyone. It's actually turned out to be quite a sought-after device in the UK market, with only a... With only a tugboat, with only a handful of stockists actually stocking the units, and each stockist actually only having a very limited number of units available for sale. It's really sort of like quite a hot commodity. Even with us being sort of mid-April going into May, I'm on the forums everywhere and people are always shouting out who's got a VCMT for sale. I was quite lucky to snaffle one a little while ago.
Yeah, and we've been putting it through its paces, which is something we do so often with RTAs. We get them, test them, check it out, and then the moment's passed, because they've been replaced 3 times. RTAs take the longest out of everything to really get to grips with. I find with RTAs, if you're a normal vapor and you just buy 1 or 2 devices, it's absolutely fine. You get to know the intricacies of that one. You get to learn exactly how to wick it. You better do it first time. But when you're picking up tons of RTAs and doing them, we buy so many and rarely review them. This one is definitely worth a review. But without further ado, let's dive down and get this sucker unboxed for you.
Okay guys, here we are with another quick and dirty unboxing of the Vapour Cloud's VCMT. Quick tour around the box. It's different. Here on the sides you can see whether you're getting the 30 or, as I've got here, a tick on the 25mm. Nothing on the bottom, and that's about it. It doesn't come wrapped, so what I will say at this point is that there's been some stock shortages in this country going on for quite a while. I was quite lucky to get this one, so without further ado, here we are into the juicy underbelly. So first up, there's your tank. We'll pop into one side for the minute, see what other stuff we get. Here we get the stainless steel wide bore drip tip, which is all very nice, notched around the edge, which is a nice little touch. What else we got? Yeah, bag of screws, Allen key, a couple of pre-made coils for you, and replacement O-rings for the whole lot, so that's nice. Chuck him to one side, and you also get a replacement tank glass. And let's look at the good stuff. Ooh, there she is. Here we are, a bit closer for you. Just looking around it quickly, you got your brass 510 at the bottom, screw adjustable, which is nice. Double O-rings top and bottom on the tank glass. Interestingly, for the Delrin drip tip up the top here, no notches round it, which is a bit of a shitter. Okay, if we take this puppy apart now, top cap just unscrews off. There you can see your kidney shaped top fill, holding this bit of the tank down here, and then unscrewing the top allows us to get into it. If we get the supplied screwdriver, we find, yep, some swarf. Presumably from the milling process. Used a machine to drill the screw process. So this right here, guys, is why we always say, no matter how clean your tank looks, just give it the once over. Don't just get it out of the packaging, fill it right up straight away, because you never know what's actually been left inside it. I mean, we always, as a matter of course, always clean out our tanks anyway, just because you haven't seen it be made. You don't know where it's come from, so it's always just best practice to avoid inhaling shit like this. Without further ado, we'll move along, because it happens. Okay, so unscrewing the chimney. Yep, so that's our velocity style deck with grub screws in. Here at each corner you find your juice channels where the wicks will drop down, and at the bottom here you have another bit of swarf. No, it's not another bit of swarf. It's this is juice flow control for the channels, so depending on how you've wicked it, you can actually close your juice channels off a bit, so to enable it to wick slower in case you have smaller coils in there with less wick. It's a nice little touch. At the bottom here we have our airflow control valve notched at the sides there, so you can get a grip on it. Nice big chunky airflow there, which goes in here and then up here, and then your coils will be sitting around about here. That action on the airflow control valve there is very stiff, which is a good thing, seeing as it's not notched and it's not on or off. It is literally, it will go round and round and round, which is okay, as long as you've got a stiff ring. Which enables us to just sort of like set it where we want it, and we don't have to worry about it. It will stay there for forever, and you don't have to worry about knocking it and accidentally adjusting it. Okay guys, there she is, back together with the stainless steel topper on there for your viewing pleasure. So now I'm going to stick a couple of coils on there, get her wicked, juice her up, and back to the studio to find out how she's doing.
Okay, thanks for that awesome unboxing, Tony. So yeah, this is an RTA, so there are no coils available for us. You don't buy pre-built coils for it. Usually when we review tanks, we talk about the coil options. Yeah, RTA. So without further ado, let's talk about that. It's got a velocity, a massive velocity. Dual post, they are huge. There's so much room to work with, and this is only the 25mm version. There is also a 30mm version out there for you.
So what with this being the 25mm version, the post holes for it are 2.5mm in diameter. The 30mm version comes with 3mm diameter holes, which will probably be good for the old juggernaut wire.
And then some.
And then some.
So down in the base of it, you've also got a controllable juice flow control ring. It's a little bit of a faff. You have to have the device off to do it. But let's dive down and have a look at a build.
Okay guys, apologies for the background noise. Dishwasher is on. Shit's got to get washed. Anyway, it's not about that. It's about putting a build on the VCMT, and we thought we'd give you an up close of maybe not the whole process, but you know, sticking a couple of Claptons on there. That second coil looks like a bag of shit. I've swapped out the VCMT Allen key grubs for the straight standard slotted screws. We'll probably be discussing that in the review video, but just for now I'll say the Allen keys sheared on me. Okay, so there's the first Clapton installed. She still needs a bit of lining up. Cut the back ends off. Going for number 2. Okay, there's number 2 installed. Tail's cut off. Still needs some levelling up. Gonna start pulsing her on the rouleau. Pretty much lined up as best as I can get her. She's reading 0.2 and firing more or less evenly. So let's get her wicked. She is wicked, and she is juiced. And Vaperz. Sorry, Grim, I apologise. Okay, and here she is back together in her entirety. The VCMT 25mm with dual 26 gauge Claptons wrapped in 32 gauge. Final reading at 0.41. And a quick test, make sure she's firing. She is. Not bad. Beautiful. A quick thanks at the end of this build video to Coil Master and Tit Sauce and UD for the wire. Shameless plug for Tit Sauce, but it is awesome. If you get the chance, try Blue Slush. It's gorgeous. Anyway, enough shameless plugs from me. Probably back to the studio.
And back in the room, thanks for the build time. So, we're going to talk about airflow now, because it's obviously a key part of this. And there's two freaking huge holes at the bottom of this thing. So they're just massive. The airflow control ring, though, is just an infinite spin. You know, it doesn't click, it just spins in a circle and away it goes. Which, I mean, it's not great, but it's nice and at the bottom and it's out of the way. You don't knock it, and it's fairly stiff resistance, so you're not going to be accidentally sort of turning it. So, you know, it's not terrible, even if the design isn't perfect. I'm just going to give it a quick hit so you can see the airflow venting out of these massive holes.
And while he's taking a quick hit, I'll be here telling you that although it's got excellent airflow, we found that in testing it actually benefited from having that airflow restricted by about a quarter, thereabouts. Just improved the flavour of your juice.
So like that.
Just like that.
So at that level you feel a slight resistance with the direct lung hit, but it's still more than capable because they are massive holes.
Next up for you, tank capacity. Now we've got the, like we said earlier, the 25mm version. Holds between 6 to 7 millilitres.
Yeah, I mean, how sketchy are we going to be?
6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 or 7 mil. What's a mil between friends? Well, actually, a fair percentage. It's just a bit weird. Why have they not measured it? It doesn't change unless they're counting the amount that's in the cotton currently. It's bizarre. I mean, just fill it up and fucking measure it. Come on, guys. There's also the 30mm version, which holds 10 to 11 mils of juice.
Thereabouts.
Yeah. Holds some juice, lots of juice, much juice. Wow. Okay, next up is ease of filling. So on paper it's really easy, in practice a little bit more tricky. So just the black bit unscrews on top, your drip tip, that top area comes off to reveal a kidney shaped hole where you just fill it up. Now it's just a single hole, so if you were to fill that there's nowhere else for the air to get out, so you could end up with air bubbles. But top fill is always a winner.
Next up, Sturdiness. Now, it's an absolutely solid piece of kit, this. It's got lovely thick gauge glass Pyrex. I'm going to say Pyrex. I haven't read anywhere there's Pyrex, but most people use Pyrex these days, so I'm going with Pyrex. And it's got double O-rings top and bottom, so it all just holds it in shape.
It's got a nice big chimney running through it and they screw together well, and as long as you're not tightening top or bottom, that just stays together nice and rigid, nice and firm, nice and stiff. Moving on.
Moving on now to the drip tip. Now it's a built-in drip tip to the top of the tank, so when you take the top of the tank off to do the refilling, you're taking the drip tip off with it. Plus side, it does come with 2 drip tips. You get a Delrin and also a stainless steel. Another plus side, they are the wide bore versions. Another plus side, the 30mm version is probably even fucking huger. Yeah, baby.
Though you won't be able to just chuck your normal drip tip in one of these, which is a bit of a shame, but there you go. Alright, let's talk about the flavour on this. Now, obviously being an RTA, a lot of it is going to be down to your building skills, what type of coils you're using, you know, everything, your wicking methods, there's so much to it. However, our experience with it, trying different coils, different wicking methods, is that the flavour is actually pretty good. Like I said, you do need to dial it down because the flavour from them massive holes isn't quite as great as them tight holes. However, even with them tiny holes, it really doesn't impede on your suck. So overall, I think the flavour is really good with this.
Now let's talk about vapour reduction, and along with that we're going to be doing the heat test as well. We're going to put the two sections together just because they seem fairly well relatable to each other. Now for vapour production, it's great wide open. You're going to chuck huge clouds. Now like we said for flavour, this really does depend on the specific build you put on it. So without fucking about anymore, let's get down to this shit. While he's taking a toke on it, I'll tell you that we've got dual Claptons in there, wrapped around 3mm.
Take a hit, come on, heat test. Get around the 3mm internal diameter, and it's running at about 64.4 watts exactly.
And the resistance of those two comes out at about 0.27.
Already feeling some heat at the top towards the end of that draw.
It does get toasty around the top of the tank.
But it's cooled down by the time I get it back from Tony. It's cooled right down.
A concern I always have about RDAs is the fact that you could dry the wick out, but
so far so good.
It's really good.
That's hot now.
Is it hot?
Hot on my lips. So at the top, bearing in mind this is Delrin, that's got hot on the top of the lips.
He is such a delicate flower.
Actually, the heat. So one of the other reasons we test this is to see how the heat travels through the tank itself, whether it dissipates through the base, through the thing. And to be honest, all the heat there seemed to be at the top, around the lips. You know, there is some heat in the device itself, near the base, but it's very, very minimal. It sort of handles the heat very well. And we're on that about a quarter or a third closed on the airflow. Obviously, if you have bigger airflow, you're going to be able to chuck bigger clouds, and it's also going to cool the unit down more. Though I would say that the Delrin one is going to be the safest option of dealing with the heat. I imagine that metal one would get very hot at the top when you're chucking that sort of power, and particularly if you do it as quick as we did there.
Moving now firmly into the realms of spits and swallows. At high wattage she can be a bit spitty, however I will interject here with the fact that it is completely down to the type of build you put on it. I'm pretty sure that when I first got it I put a single coil build on it, put it up at high wattage, and she was a little bit spitty at high wattage. Since having the Claptons on here though, she's actually been performing very nicely for me.
Yeah, so again, RTA, so it is what you make of it. But to be honest, the whole leak thing is the main problem I find with RTAs. You know, if you don't wick it right, it's either too dry and you burn your cotton, or it just floods and you end up just pouring all your juice out. Now this is quite easy to wick, and you've got that juice flow control. So I haven't really had any problems with leaks. The only problems with condensation where I've been chucking massive clouds. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Right, now we come to the least exciting part of the review, where we talk about the 510 connector. Usually this is just a very quick bit where we go, yeah, it's got threads, it's alright. But not so much this time. Tony?
Yeah, this time was a bit of a mare. Oh god, I was nearly sending it back to the vendor that I bought it from, because every time that we were chucking a build on here, resistance was just coming out all over the shop. It wasn't firing properly, could not fucking work it out for the life of us.
Resistance was completely futile.
So yeah, I got so fucked off with it in the end, I just completely took the fucker apart, gave it all a clean out, put it all back together again, and she's been working fine ever since.
Yeah, I've never had to do that with any devices, you know, drippers, tanks, nothing. I've had to take the 510 connector apart all the way through. I have done just for funsies, however I've not had to do it, you know. This is the first one that we've come across where a brand new device doesn't work. I mean, some of the things we were getting, we were seeing nearly sort of 4 ohms resistance on something that should have been about 0.3. It was crazy. I was like, oh, put it together, and I'm like, where's 0.2? Yeah, it's 2 ohms. I'm like, then 2.5 ohms, and then 3 ohms. I'm like, well, how is it going up? I'm not touching it. What the fuck?
I will stress at this point that this is by no means a scientific test, although we had them on resistance readings and that is what we were seeing. I think that this is exclusively to the unit that we got.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen. You get dodgy units, dodgy assemblies. You know, all you could take is like a O-ring or some insulating connector to be not quite in the right place and everything goes to shit. It's certainly not a common problem. We haven't seen any other references to it on the net, so it's not necessarily something you need to worry about. However, it's something, as reviewers, we thought we should mention. Okay, let's talk about how much it costs to get one of these VCMTs.
So, the 25mm version that I picked up cost 43 quid.
And you go pay about 51 quid for the 30mm version. So they're not running in as cheap tanks. However, you know, there's a lot of stuff for your money there. These aren't small.
Okay guys, now we've reached that special stage in the show where we sum up by way of pros and cons. And as always, we will start with the cons so that we're ending with those beautiful pros.
Highs?
Ending with the beautiful pros.
Ah. Okay.
Ending on top of those beautiful pros. Is that better? Does that link in better?
Yeah, that works.
On top of those beautiful pros. And first up is that Delrin top cap. In use of the tank, I think it heats up, and when it heats up, it expands slightly. And so then, if you've got to rejuice or anything like that afterwards, it's quite a faff trying to hold the top of the metal section of the tank and then unscrew the Delrin, because there's not a lot of room to play with there. You've pretty much just got to grab the top of the Delrin drip tip and pray, because if you get it wrong, you're pulling the tank apart.
Yeah, so it's unnecessarily a faff. You know, it's such a big tank, you could have had just a bit of bigger area to grip hold of to make this a bit easier. That would have made the fight against the Delrin sort of like become one with the tank a little bit easier. While we're up the top of the tank and we're talking about filling, there's just a single hole. I always prefer 2 holes because 2 holes are better than 1. Also, that way when you're filling it, if it fills up with juice, you've got another one to let the air out and you don't create that sort of negative pressure where you just going to end up juicing everywhere.
Next up is the Allen keys that are included on the Velocity deck. The first time I tried putting a build on there, all 4 of them completely sheared when using the Allen key. So I promptly use a screw extraction kit to get the said Allen keys out of my Velocity deck, and then promptly threw those and the Allen key into the bin. Luckily, it's supplied with slotted screws to screw into the side of the Velocity deck, which is an absolute lifesaver for it.
Next up on the cons list is going to be the airflow control ring, where it's just quite short and quite near the bottom. When it's on a mod, it's quite difficult to manipulate. Luckily, once you get it set correctly, you're not going to need to be worrying about it again, which saves it, I suppose.
Next up is the juice flow control ring. While it's fine by itself, actually sitting in the tank, if you've ever got to sort of refill the tank, which you will have to do quite a lot, and you do, like we said a couple of cons ago about getting it wrong and starting to unscrew the top of the tank, you can then inadvertently start screwing around with the juice flow and start closing off your juice flow when you tighten it back down again.
Yeah, you don't even need to be that careless. Just if you're a little bit overzealous with tightening it up, it will go ahead and sort of turn the chimney, which in turn basically changes the juice flow control ring. Bit of a shame. Okay, next up, it's a bit of a weird one this, because we haven't really suffered with this, but a lot of people are reporting leaking issues with this. It's kind of common with RTAs, you know, that, like I said, they have a sweet spot, which is their exact, this is how you wick it. If you do it anything else, you're either restricting the wicking, but that's going to stop leaks, or you have awesome wicking, but it's going to leak. I personally found it quite easy to build with. I haven't been struggling with leaks. However, lots of people on the internet have been having that issue, so we kind of need to mention that in here, though for us personally we haven't had that issue.
And I suppose lastly on the cons list would be the fact that to access the build deck you've got to have at least half a tank or less than half a tank of juice in there. If you've got a full tank, you've got to dump your juice out to be able to upend it, take the bottom off, and then get to your coils.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. There are other devices that are very similar. Supreme, where you can just take the coils out, leaving all of the juice in, you know, it just sort of sits there. But here, when you take it apart, you turn it upside down, and just right down here is the line where it comes apart. That sort of bottom part of the chimney, the bigger part, comes out with you when you unscrew the base. As a result, that means that you need to have the juice below that line, otherwise it's obviously going to go everywhere. And lastly, is going to be the drip tip. Now the drip tip's good, it's nice wide ball, but that heat at the top of the drip tip when you're running, yes, it's got such a big build deck and it's got really good wicking, there's huge juice flow through this. So you're going to want to do big builds in this, or at least you can, but the heat at the top there gets a little bit much.
Okay, so that's enough ragging on this. Let's move over to the good shit that it's got going for it. And first up, there's got to be the huge clouds that you're able to blow with this massive build deck.
Yeah, it's got a huge build deck, which is another pro. It's just massive, really easy to work with build deck. But that allows you to put huge builds in it, and it's got that huge airflow, which again gives you those huge clouds.
Next up for you is the fact that it produces quite good flavour with adjustment on that airflow control valve.
Yeah, you get your wicking right, and I think it's got amazing flavour. And you know, being an RTA, it just sort of lets you do it how you like it, which is really cool.
Next up is the goodies that you get in the box. It's good that it comes with. I mean, a lot of them come with spare stuff. I mean, the Supreme, which we've been using as a bit of a comes with an extra set of Allen key grub screws for the build deck. This actually came with the slotted flathead screw, so you actually get different stuff there in the box, which is brilliant for when something completely fucks up on you and you've got to bin it. The other good thing that's in the box for you is the fact that you get the choice between the Delrin drip tip and the stainless steel. I mean, for them to actually produce that and put it in the box for you instead of it being an add-on item, yeah, it's good. I'm happy with that.
And lastly, for pros, but by no means leastly, it's just the fact that it's got this huge tank capacity, you know, and this is only the 25mm version. It's just huge. So you're not going to be refilling it all that often, and you know, you just take it out for the day and you're good to go. It's just great. It ticks that box that we've been looking for, huge capacity.
Okay, so summing up for the VCMT, the main thing that we were looking for was a good size build deck, which this fulfills, and a huge tank size, which this also fulfills. And going back to the pros and cons, while it may sound like we were ragging on the cons an awful lot, as we always say, we're reviewers. We give it to you guys how we found it, and we want you guys to know everything that we've found so that you are able to make an informed decision. Going to the pros, while it doesn't sound like we made a lot of decent arguments for it, what we found is that if a device works how we expect it to work, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it ticks all the boxes for the stuff that's great. It's got that build deck, it's got the airflow, it wicks really easily, and I love it. It's just a great device.
Okay guys, so that about wraps it up for Vaperz Cloud Mega Tank for you. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. We hope you enjoy what we're doing for you, and if you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps us out immensely.
Yeah, don't forget to share us if you would be so kind. That would be awesome of you. And if you've got any questions about the VCMT, hit us up below. If you've got any questions about anything in general, hit us up here or hit us up on the social medias, Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. We are quite chatty. But for now, thank you very much for watching Smog Vlog.
I didn't have the box.
Okay, so welcome back. Yeah, as we said, today we are going to be... we're going to start with the thing. Yeah, alright. Shush. Okay, so welcome back. Yeah, so... Ribbit. Okay, so welcome back. Stop chipmunking, Jesus Christ. Never worked with animals. That's alright, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good. Lee.
Oh, Murray. Malcolm.
Murray.
Murray. Numbskull. Okay, guys, here we are coming at you with. Fuck off. Anyway, it's not about that. It is about. What the fuck is it about?
We are flying along.
Oh, that's right. Go and jinx it.
Yeah, this is where it doesn't record. Shit. Oh, good. Correct sound. Sounds plugged.
Oh god, I didn't even think about the bloody sound.
Sounds plugged in. It's all good. It's all good. From here, but it's still more than capable because they are massive holes.
Just warming her up. I thought you were shaking your head like that.
No,
you fucked up again, and I'm like, I'll carry on because if I keep carrying on and I have fucked up, he'll tell me at some point.
Yeah, I was disagreeing with them.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's me nervously carrying on.
Good, I think it will look good. People who know us will probably find that funny. This is going on the cons list.
There's quite a lot going on the cons list.
Jesus, I'm just going to leave that be.
Yeah,
No, it's fine. Oh, do it for me, baby.
I'll do it for you.
Drip tip. Drip tip. Don't even know what tank that is. I've got too many fucking tanks. That's your quickest. That's your quickest. So overall, I think the flavour is really good with this. No, massive lock up. There's a face to pull. You got anything to add?
That is exactly what I was going to add.
Sorry. Linking thinking. Clean out our undercarriage.
She's getting excited about the next subject we're going to be covering.
Leaks and spits.
Leaks and spits and swallows. Dirty girl with her wide bore mouth.
That's not the opening picture. No. God, man down.
Oh, yeah.
No. I will delete the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that link in better?
Yeah, that'll work.
On top of those beautiful pros. And first up, I haven't read it.
Okay. Well,
Can get started.
pressure where you just going to end up juicing everywhere. How dirty can you make a review?
10 out of 10.
Excellent.